Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Bluebeam's President and CEO, Richard Lee.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. This is a really exciting day. Thank you to the thousands of people out there on our live webcast who are joining us as well from around the world. This is a pretty exciting event for us, so thank you for attending and welcome. Today is going to be very different than a normal product launch. We wanted to do something special, and to do something special, it had to be more than just talking about our product and the features, but we wanted to give all of you an insider's look into what innovation really means to us. So what we did was we went out into the community, our community, and asked for people who would be willing to tell their story. And what's really interesting is that we had a lot of volunteers who are willing to kind of share with us the things that really drove them to come up with new ideas, to innovate, to really challenge the norm. So today we're going to be presenting that. So it's been quite an exciting time for us to really hear those. So I'm excited for you to be able to hear them as well. So today we'll have that kind of look at innovation. And before we talk about what it has really meant, I want to explain a little bit about the context. And so much of this was not just about technology, but so much of it was about the people. And so we wanted to share with you a little bit more about why we are doing this with the community. And that was really because we wanted to bridge the gap between generations. Innovation is not something that you do in isolation. Innovation is actually something that you do with a whole group of people that really spark that idea. And because that, we wanted to bring forward these stories, and these stories are really exciting. So before we continue with some of these folks and talking about how they bridge the gap with generations and how they've really kind of told that story in terms of coming up with new technologies and new processes, I want to share with you a little bit of our history. So that history was really based on a mission, and our mission was really to create technology that would really enable the workflow for all of you, those people in the audience and out there in the world who are really trying to change processes, to do something more. So adaptive technology is where we focused our attention, something that would work with you so that you could do your work better. But we realized that it wasn't something that we could just do alone. And so the next concept that we rolled out was this concept of a revolution. So first we had a mission. Next we had a revolution. The revolution was putting the burden, if you will, on all of you to really change, to inspire us to do something greater. Because it's not just us here at Bluebeam that can really change how the world works. It's all of you taking the technology and taking it further than we ever thought we could take it. So with all of you, many years ago, we sparked a revolution. And that revolution allowed us to really kind of mature with our ideas of what software really is all about. And that maturity kind of rolled into this concept I rolled out a few years ago called software as a form of art, or you can even think of technology as a form of art. And I think of it as art largely because there's two primary things about art. One is the design, and we are responsible for the design of it, but you are responsible for the interpretation of it. So there's always two sides to art, and that's actually very meaningful because if you think about it, the art actually has no true value until it's absorbed or adapted by the people. It just simply exists. So the you component is very important because that is what brings the value. That is what allows us to take something that was designed for you and actually take it further. So as we continue this story, just a few years ago, I talked about this path that you will define the future. And that is important because it's not just about technology. It's about how you wish to drive the future, how you wish to change the world, how you wish to bring about new technologies, new ideas, new processes into our future, into the community. So again, the burden was on all of you. But I'm happy to say that this path has actually been defined, and tomorrow has now arrived today. So that brings us back to the now, the present. Today, we have a number of speakers who will be talking about how they have changed the world. And I'm excited to see where they're going to take us with this journey. It's been quite exciting to see where they've taken mentorship, where they've taken guidance, where they've taken that bridge and evolved it into something more. So it's all about the people. It's all about how we take the technologies that are available to us and how we take it further and how we do it together. And I'm really excited to bring forth these companies to really share their stories and to really talk about how they as teams, they as people, as guides, as mentors, as coaches, have really brought forth the changes in this industry over the last decade, and I look forward to the future that they're going to be bringing. So with that, I want to first bring up the folks at Black & Veatch, Jason and Ben from University of Kansas.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Richard, for the introduction, and thank you for the welcome. I'm Jason Haskell, a structural engineer at Black & Veatch, and this is Ben Naudet. Ben is a second-year Master of Architecture student at the University of Kansas. Ben and I first met last fall when he was a student in a class that I was teaching at KU. In my class, I required my students to use Bluebeam as part of the class, but I also encouraged them to use Bluebeam outside of the class. Ben took that further than I expected. He started using Bluebeam in creative and artistic ways that I had never seen before in the industry. That was pretty cool to me because it meant that Ben was exploring new ways to use Bluebeam that weren't necessarily out of the box or the intention. It meant that Ben was innovative. So I know that Ben will continue to innovate, but I do hope that he starts to share what he's doing in review because I think that these young people have this excellent opportunity to share what they know with the world. When I started teaching, I immediately thought of my mentorships, my personal mentorships. I've had both formal and informal mentorships, and I can honestly say that each mentorship has opened a door that wouldn't have been opened otherwise. Of course, I wanted to share that with my students, but what I didn't expect was all that I would learn from them. So working with these young people like Ben and his classmates has been encouraging and even inspiring. You see, they have something to share with the world that no other generation has been able to do. They were born in technology. They've lived technology their whole lives. They can bring those skills to the workplace. They can teach those skills to the other generations. They can make mentorships more mutually beneficial than they've ever been before. And that's something to smile about. So today, Ben and I are here to tell you about a cool new feature of Review 2016. Everyone on this webcast probably knows about sets. You know that sets change the way we do things. Instead of working with one giant PDF file, we're working with a lot of individual files that are smaller. It's a pretty cool way to work, and it changed our processes a lot. But there's always been one problem. If I wanted to use that all-powerful Bluebeam markup list, it only worked on one file. So to use it on a full set, I first had to combine all the files and then use the markup list. Well, Ben and I are happy to tell you that today, with the introduction of Batch Markup Summary, that all changes. So Batch Markup Summary is a cool new tool, a cool new way to create reports on single or multiple PDF files, and it's excellent and versatile in its use. So Ben's going to show us how it works. This example that we have for you today is a set of drawings, construction drawings from Black & Veatch, and they have been put through a multidisciplinary QC review. The document control at Black & Veatch needs to create a report for each of the disciplines so that those disciplines can go through, review the comments, and incorporate them into the native files. So Ben, will you show us how it works?
Alrighty, thank you, Jason. We're going to go and hop right into the development of our very first batch markup summary. We're going to start off by locating our batch drop-down menu underneath our File tab. We can then come down to our brand new summary option. Once we select this, we'll be prompted to our file selection window. Here we have the option to add any files that are saved to our computer. We can add any open files in our current review window. Right now we don't have any open, so this is grayed out. But we can add an entire folder that's saved to our computer. And finally, we can add our current set. As you can see to the left of the screen, we have a set open with about 20 construction documents. So we're going to go ahead and select this option. And it'll immediately pop our files into our selection window. At this point in time, if there's a particular file that we wanted to exclude from our markup summary, we can locate that file, select it, and then click Remove. For now, we're going to go ahead and leave them all in there. So we can go ahead and select Next. We will then be prompted to our column selection window. Here, any column within our document that contains some sort of markup data will be present. The columns that we select will be those visible in our markup summary. So because we're creating discipline reports, we're going to go and deselect all and select the subject, the page, the author, the creation date, the comments, the file name, discipline, and importance. We can then select Next. We will then be prompted to our filtering and sorting options. Here we have the ability to actually add a filter to any of the columns we selected in the previous window. So for instance, since we're creating discipline reports, if we wanted to exclude any particular discipline, such as the structural engineers, we can locate our discipline column here and then find our drop-down arrow, and then we can deselect the structural option. This will exclude that from our markup summary. But for today, we're going to go ahead and leave all 4 of them selected so we can create 4 different discipline reports. We can then move down to our sorting options. Since we're creating discipline reports, we're going to make sure to select discipline as our first sorting criteria. And then under discipline, we can choose the level of importance as the second sorting criteria. Once we have finalized these options, we can select Next. Finally, on to the formatting options. Here at the top, we have some basic options such as exporting our summary report as a PDF or printing it. We can change the title of it. We're going to select the Create Multiple Reports per Discipline option. Because we chose discipline as our first sorting criteria in the previous window, we actually have the ability to make a report per discipline, which is exactly what we want in this example. Moving down to an extremely useful tool, we actually have the ability to load in a pre-made template to paste our markup summary onto. So right now we don't have one loaded in, so we're going to select Import. We're going to locate our report template. And once we open it, it's going to prompt us to the region selection window, which will actually allow us to choose the amount of white space our report or our summary takes up on our report. So we're going to go and leave it on the default because that looks good. And then as you can see, it's going to pop it right into the template drop-down menu for us. Right below here, we can select to insert a page break per level of importance because that was the second sorting criteria we chose in the previous window. This will allow us to sort each discipline report by level of importance. Down here, we have some options to change the style, the page size, and thumbnail of our report. We're going to go ahead and leave these on the default because they work particularly well with this example. We're going to make sure to include our hyperlinks, which will allow easy access to any particular comment. At this point in time, we can actually save our batch for any future markup summaries that we do with this set of files, so we don't have to manually load them in. So we're going to go ahead and save that. We can also save the configuration for any future discipline reports that we may do. Save that. And then we can select Done to process our report. And for today, for time's sake, we're going to go ahead and skip to the final product, which is right here. So as you can see, we have 4 different reports, each one pertaining to its own discipline. We have the civil engineers right here, the general, the geotechnical, and the structural. And because we chose to sort each discipline report by level of importance, we can notice that we have the high level important comments up top. And as we scroll down, we will see a page break into the lower level important comments, which allows for easy reading for whoever's trying to actually access these comments. And once again, since we included our hyperlinks, it is very simple for one to actually view one of these comments in the actual construction document that's located. So all they have to simply do is select that thumbnail, and it'll take them directly to that document for further examination. And that'll conclude our first example of the batch markup summary feature. I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to Jason.
Pretty cool, right? But that's not the coolest thing. Maybe the coolest thing about batch markup summary is that it's so versatile. You all know that not every person on a project wants the same report. So batch markup summary is this extremely versatile tool that you can customize to whatever you need. So in this particular example, Ben's going to show us again, the project manager doesn't care about the discipline reports. What he cares about is the importance. He wants to see a list of all the markups sorted by importance so he can look at the high importance comments and make sure that we have time to incorporate all of those before our next submittal. So Ben, will you show us the next report?
Alrighty, we're going to follow the exact same steps we did previously to get back to our file selection window. So we'll go to File, Batch, Summary. This time we're going to simply select Load Batch because we're going to be using the same file set that we did for our discipline reports. We can locate that, select it, and it's going to immediately pop our files into the selection window for us. We can then choose Next. Onto our column selection window. This time we're going to choose Load Configuration because we're going to use the same columns that we did for our discipline report. When we load this in, it's going to automatically select the columns that we had previously. So once we have finalized this, we can move on. Onto our filtering and sorting options. We're going to simply flip around our importance and discipline sorting criteria for our project manager report. Onto the formatting options, we can deselect the Create Multiple Reports option because for this example, we just want it on one single report. So we'll deselect that. And as you can see, our template is going to be preloaded in from our previous configuration. We're going to make sure to insert a page break per level of importance for our report. We're going to leave our style, page size, and thumbnail all on the default because once again, it works well. We're going to make sure to include our hyperlinks. And at this time, we can actually save this configuration for any future project manager reports that we may do. And then we can select Done to process our report. We're going to skip this step once again for time's sake. And as you can see, here's the finished project manager report that is sorted by level of importance.
So you can obviously see that Batch Markup Summary is a great tool that's going to enable a lot of customizable reports. On a given project, you can save those configurations so you can create them again and again and again as your project progresses with time. As cool as that is, it's not the only thing Review 2016 has to offer, so we're going to turn it back to Rich to tell you about some of the other cool features in this release. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. That was fantastic. It's always neat to see how our application is being used, and frankly, it's incredibly powerful. We've always focused on ways to improve productivity and save our customers time, so that is a great example, so thank you for that. I now have the pleasure of introducing some folks I've known for a number of years over at Gensler. It's been great having the opportunities to meet so many different people from different companies and to see the challenges that they face and how they overcome those challenges with different uses of technology. So welcome to the stage, please, Henry from Gensler, and also Jonalyn, and she will be representing USC.
Well, thanks, Rich, for the intro, and thank you, Bluebeam, for allowing us to be here today. We're super excited to tell you and tell the world, really, about some new enhancements for Bluebeam Revit plugin. I'm Henry Lau. I'm a senior technical designer at Gensler Sports, and I've been practicing sports architecture for the last 16 years.
My name is Jonalyn Abraham. I also work at Gensler Sports. I also am a graduate from USC, class of 2012.
So a little background about us. I actually met Jonalyn about 5 years ago when she was an architectural intern. She demonstrated a tremendous aptitude for learning and was willing to take on extreme, project challenges. So I thought, good for me, right? And so with that, I actually brought Jonalyn on board a project, and she managed a small project. She took on basically the task of punch listing a 65,000 seat stadium. If I remember correctly, too, that was I think we were basically beta testing Review for iPad.
Yes.
And back in the day, everybody remembers that.
This is about 5 years ago, too.
So we worked with it, and we developed a workflow that actually did great on the project. So, fast forward 5 years later, we're still working on complex projects, still, figuring out creative and progressive workflows, and obviously with Review at the core of those workflows. So today, we're going to talk about two new enhancements for Bluebeam Revit plugin, and I'll let Jonalyn take on and explain the first one.
All right. Like Henry said, I started working with him as an intern for that 65,000 seat stadium, which was great, a great start to my career. Something that really resonated within me that Henry actually taught me is the less clicks, the better, which is great. So I'm here to show you one of the ways that Bluebeam made our workflow more efficient. So I'm going to start you out here in Revit. For those of you who aren't as familiar with Revit, it is a BIM, Building Information Modeling processing tool that we use to create construction documents from design all the way to completion of the project. So we rely heavily on it also during CA when we produce an output of PDFs. So I'm showing you a quadrant right here. So for stadiums, we split up our projects into quadrants because of how huge they are. To put it in perspective, this is a 30,000 seat stadium, not quite as big as a 65 one, but still quite large. So when we output those PDFs and we bring them into Bluebeam, we then can use them for things like CA, like Henry said, punch listing. So for this particular project, we used it for our phase 1 punch list last year, and like Henry also said, we used it for, we utilized the iPad app with this particular project. So as you all know, with the markups tool in Bluebeam, you can easily put markups on the PDF and output a summary and send it over to whoever needs it, the contractor, the client, whoever. But as you also know, the spaces function Bluebeam makes this is incredibly important for this, because for spaces, it allows you to enclose a certain part of a location of your project and then put your markup in there so you know exactly where it is at any time. However, before spaces, you had to go in and meticulously trace the room of the space that you wanted, and then name it, and then so on and so forth. For a large stadium, that is a huge process, let me tell you, because I had to do it. So it took me a couple days, maybe even a week, of just going in, tracing the space, outputting it for all of the spaces in the stadium, which is a huge feat. So with Bluebeam's new feature, I'll show you here. When you go into settings in Revit, it'll show you that there are a couple new check marks that you can add. Let's go back to Revit here. Here, export rooms to spaces, among a couple others. And then you go ahead and just create your file. I'll just go ahead and push OK and go back to Bluebeam here. And voila, the spaces are created. So as you can see, this saves us an incredible amount of time in terms of outputting the PDF, and you can directly start putting your markups in there. So for example, here we put a paint markup in our concession. So you can see the spaces add-in took the room name and the room number and automatically put it into your markups tab.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge, guys. This is a huge time saver for a project. You know, imagine that you could take that 40 hours times 1 times 2, persons working at just creating these spaces, in the PDFs, and just export it out directly from Revit, and then just immediately go directly to the field. That's efficiency, that's time spent better on other aspects of a project, critical path items, stuff that are pressing in the field. I mean, this is, and Jonathan doesn't have to spend the weekend, doing the
Yeah.
so.
I love it. So this is not the only new Revit enhancement tool. Henry will explain the second one.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the next enhancement, and that's the basically the material export to 3D PDFs from Revit. And this is, yeah, I'm excited about this one too. I'm a super big proponent of using 3D PDFs as part of the design and construction workflow. It just makes sense, right? I mean, our industry is heading, towards everything 3D centric. So working in that sort of same environment, in my opinion, just makes sense. With this new enhancement, what it does is it actually allows the export, the translation of materials directly from Revit into the 3D PDF. So no longer is it just something that comes out in grayscale or a different color, or you can't tell if it's glazing or translucent. Those material properties actually come out. So on the screen, you'll see that this is a view from Revit. You can see some of the material properties there. You can see a red wall, you can see some brick, and then when it does the export to 3D PDF, you can see it's actually almost the same. Fantastic, fantastic tool. This is a great format to actually communicate ideas, to communicate intent, to walk through your client, your contractor, engineer, the design team, just explain the design to them. One of the things for those of you that have never used 3D PDFs, what actually also translates are all the elements in Revit. So you have the option of adjusting the visibility of these elements. One of the great things about this material export is that now I can, for example, look at this wall. It's simple in geometry, right? But it's actually very complex in terms of the materials that are present. So this wall, actually, this red metal panel wall actually is comprised of like 4 different red metal panels. So before, I'd have to, write it out in a narrative, throw on markups basically on the 3D PDF. And now I can just simply explain to somebody, okay, toggle this selection and you can identify what is red metal panel 1, red metal panel 2, etc. I mean, this is fantastic, guys. It's like huge time saver. And this is just an example of some of the things with the material export. You can identify brick easily. As you're looking at a 3D PDF, you know what glazing is on part of the project or part of the building. People just get it. It's a lot easier to look at something like this and just understand immediately where all the different materials are. When John Ellen and I were actually beta testing this new enhancement, we also discovered something that was super awesome. This Revit model is actually a 400 meg Revit model. And then when we actually did this export of a section of the model, we found that the file size had decreased tremendously. So for 400 megs, it went down to 8.9 megs. Yeah. So just imagine this. You're able to email a file to somebody versus using FTP file transfer. You're no longer sending a Revit model, which only a select few may be able to, navigate in. Now you can actually just send a 3D PDF. I mean, isn't that fantastic? So just to recap, 2 awesome new enhancements for the Bluebeam Revit plugin. We've got export room to spaces that John just explained, and then we've got the material export, from Revit to 3D PDF. So I'm super excited, about these new enhancements. Everybody, check it out, use it, and it'll save you a lot of time and efficiency. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Rich, and excited for new things to come. Thanks, guys.
That was pretty exciting. I just kept thinking, I guess spaces is the final frontier. So I'll tell you a story about 3D PDF files. When we were debating whether or not to create that feature or not, this is a hot debate from our CTO, Don, and I. And for a while, we kept saying, I don't know. Well, I kept saying, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to provide value. And Don kept insisting, no. This is a very important piece of the workflow. We need to do this. So needless to say, Don won out. And he said, we have to do this. I said, fine, we'll just do this. But as you can see, Don was right. It provides a tremendous amount of value, and I was not right. So with that, let's move on to our next presenters. Our next presenters, coming from Sant and also representing Cal Poly, are 2 gentlemen who have really pushed the limits of innovation, and I'm really excited that they're here today to share their stories. So please welcome Spencer and Tyler to the stage.
So my name is Spencer Draper. I'm a project manager for Sant Construction. I graduated Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in 2010, and I've been working with Sant ever since.
Hi, my name's Tyler Menard. I'm a field engineer for Sant. I've been with Sant for a year and a half, and I graduated from Cal Poly SLO as well in 2014.
So I was first introduced to Tyler by one of my mentors, who was my supervisor on my previous project and would become Tyler's direct supervisor on his current project. He came to me and said, we have a new hire from Cal Poly. I'd like you to get with him and just help him understand our document control process and more specifically drawing management, which was going to be one of Tyler's main focuses on his current project. So I went to Tyler, and the first thing I told him was, if you're anything like me, you are going to despise what I'm about to talk to you about. This is not what you went to school for. It's not why you chose construction management. It's not what you dreamed of doing when you were building a treehouse. You didn't want to sit and name drawings and post RFIs and ASIs all day. But with that, it is absolutely necessary. because we have to document all of this. We have to get the information out to the field, and it needs to be done correctly. If you're going to spend the time, it needs to be accurate. It needs to have all the correct information. With that, though, I told him that it is also providing very little benefit to your growth as a builder. So you need to find every way that you can to do it as quickly as possible while still maintaining accuracy and get out. Go out to the field, go do something else, be done with it. So Tyler's going to discuss a new feature that's coming on. We talked about sets when Tyler and I were first talking because that's what I had used. That was the new innovation that was coming on. And Tyler quickly outpaced me. He knew about sets from Cal Poly. He knew about Bluebeam, obviously. He took sets to a whole new level to the point where now I send anyone that I get any new engineers over to Tyler because he knows more than I do. But beyond that, now we have new functions coming out in 2016. One of them is the tag function that Tyler's going to talk about now.
Yeah, the tag function is an awesome function. So basically, it automatically will supersede sheets based on the sheet number. It's also pulling information that's already on your drawing sheet right there. It's information that we can get out to our subcontractors. So with that, I'll go ahead and demo the tag feature. So I have my studio session set up. I have all my files separated, keeping them in their folders. I'm going to go ahead and create a set just like I typically would. And then you're going to go to the options feature. This is where you'll find the tags. So I'm going to go ahead, sheet name, sheet number. They're already defaults as well as the revision. So you can make custom ones, or you can add in from this dropdown. So two tags that Spencer and I saw as being important on our projects as information to get out to our subs were drawing date, as well as issue description. So constantly our subs are asking us, is this the latest and greatest drawing sheet? And with this, I'll kind of go into it a little bit later. You can export these things called drawing logs, and it basically gives them that information. So with that.
Yeah, the drawing date is one. Obviously, they need to know when the drawing was created or issued, but most trade contractors aren't memorizing the dates. Like Tyler's going to know that this drawing was issued in March. He's going to know off the top of his head. What they're looking at is the reason why the drawing has changed, because they're usually pricing it or they're having to order new material. So issue description is going to allow you to automatically capture whatever the reason was that drawing has changed. So like Tyler said with logs, down the road when we talk about logs, that trade contractor will be able to pull up that log, see the sheet that he is interested in, and know that drawing was revised because of an ASI. And that person will know, hey, I priced ASI 50. Now I'm seeing 52 for this sheet. I need to go back and make sure that I have the correct material, that I've submitted pricing, that I know what's going on. So it's just one more way for them to stay on track with the drawings.
So I'll continue with the demo. I'm just going to add in those two. You can obviously, when you initially set up your set, you don't have to have all the tags down. Typically on a project, you're going to find other pieces of information useful, so you can go ahead and add these in later, which is awesome. So I add those two in, press OK. I'm going to go ahead and add in my files, my original files from my studio session to create my new set. Add those in, and now it's going to prompt me basically to where that tag information is on the drawing sheet. So I'll highlight that information. So anytime I add in a new sheet to the drawings, it's automatically for sheet number, and sheet name. It's typically in the same location. Something else that's kind of cool that you'll see here just in a second. So I'm getting the drawing date right now when this drawing sheet came out. But you can also, sometimes your index sheet, it's not always the same title block as all the remaining sheets. So you can choose to skip that page, skip the document, or skip the tag. So very useful, user-friendly. So I'll add that information in. It provides me with all that information. If for some reason something was misspelled off in any way, you can manually update that in that screen that you just saw. So it's applying the tags to all my sheets, checking them in. And my next step is basically I'm going to save the set, save it to my studio. This is where all my subcontractors are going to go. They're going to go to the studio session, open up that set. That's where all the most up-to-date information is going to be. So I'll save my set in there. And in just a second, you're going to see a screen from the current project I'm on. So the current project I'm on, it's 2 6-story dorm buildings at San Diego State University and a 6-story parking garage. We have 4 volume sets. Document control takes a lot of my time. So any way I can find time savings is great, and this tag feature allows for that. So how I did it before, I manipulated a naming convention basically. So _rev1 would be the first revision to that drawing. So if a letter was off, if a space was off, it wouldn't supersede that sheet. But with tags, it recognizes that the sheet number, it's the second time it's been added, so it's revision 1, revision 2. So it's very user-friendly.
So like Tyler said, he obviously had to spend his time to go in and create that naming convention and then muscle it into the drawing set throughout the project. But from a project manager standpoint, I'm not just worried about what Tyler has to do. We have multiple engineers on a project. For example, Tyler's has 2 other engineers and an intern. Tyler not only has to spend that time, but Tyler has to go and teach all the other engineering staff that naming convention. He has to make sure they understand it, and then there is going to be a mistake somewhere. And when that happens, then Tyler has to go back and spend time not only fixing it, but just researching. What sheet was it? Where did the mistake happen? And you can have this drawing set go out to the field without the correct sheets, all because of a backspace not being placed in the naming convention. So it saves Tyler time, it saves the rest of our team time, so it's just exponential efficiency.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, I'll go back. Obviously, you can see these are just my different folders that I have set up right now. I'm excited to use the new tag function on my project because it's going to save me a lot of time when I have those huge ASIs that are 50 sheets long. It's simple. It's just getting that sheet number and it'll supersede it right there for me. So right now what I'm doing is I'm basically adding in revision sheets just like I typically would. It's going to prompt me with this tag feature. So it's automatically doing the sheet name and sheet number like I discussed before. But now it's going to prompt me for drawing date and issue description because those will change depending on how many revisions you've had. It'll change on that title block. So I'll find that area. This one was updated on July 29th. It's going to pull that information for both those sheets from that location, add the tags in, and then I'm going to go ahead in just a second, grab the issue description, pull that piece of information in. As you guys can see, it's quick, it's easy. It adds those tags in fairly fast too, so it's awesome. So here's all my information. It shows that that's the second revision to those drawing sheets. You can also see, if you look at the sheet name down at the bottom, there's a bunch of spaces. Before, it wouldn't supersede my sheet if my sheet name was named something like that. With this, it automatically recognizes it. So now, go ahead. Yeah, super helpful. So now it's just supersede my sheets just like I normally would. There's my superseded sheet right there. And then I'm going to show you guys, it's part of the tag function. It's exporting drawing logs. So it's just taking all that information that you pulled for your tags. You can set it up, customize it any way you'd like. If you want to have superseded sheets on there, you can, or you can choose not to. For purposes of this, I'm just going to keep them all. I'll go ahead and click Next. So here you can export it as a PDF, an Excel, whatever your project's preference is. And something else that's kind of cool is you can click this checkbox, append date to title. So every time you save that file, it'll have that date that it was saved. So our sub knows, oh, this is the most up-to-date drawing log.
So another thing, besides accuracy and efficiency, obviously we need to communicate this issue to the trade contractors and our superintendents and everyone out in the field. So being able to create these drawing logs without having to export the information to another software management or project management software, Excel, it just saves more time and it increases communication. It's just an excellent tool.
So something else that's kind of cool is there's another checkbox down at the bottom below Export To. It's automatically export when saving a set. So I can set it up, make a folder in my studio, save a drawing log once, and every time I save my set, it'll save a new updated file, putting that date on there, which is awesome. So our subs can use that as an index, and yeah. So with that, I'll show you guys just me basically demoing how that's done. There's another box. You can choose to exclude the superseded sheets like I said before, so if you didn't want that information out for the subs, they don't have to have that. It's all up to you. It's cool. And I'll go ahead and export it. I'm going to save it to my studio session like I said before. Get that information in there. And then basically, once I teach my sub once where it's located, they know where to go. They're not constantly asking me questions. Is this the most up-to-date? They know. I can just direct them. Go to the drawing logs in our studio session, and here it is. So, yeah. So it gives the reason. It gives the reason why it was issued. It gives the revision number. All those sheet names hyperlinked, so you can use that as your index for your project. It's awesome. So. Yeah, I'm really excited to use this on my project and my future projects, and with that, we'll give it back to Rich.
That was really cool. I have an overwhelming desire to say, "Tag, you're it." That was just it's always incredible. I mean, watching how the technology is used and how it's applied is always something amazing. I mean, we spend the time to develop the technology, but it's really when it gets out into the field and people really apply it and you see the value of it, that's when it has true meaning. So thank you for that. I truly appreciate it. Next, I'd like to bring up some folks who have done some amazing things, and we've been partners with Turner for a very long time, and it's really fun for us to work with our customers so closely to develop technologies that really provide the value that they're seeking. So with that, I'd like to introduce the folks from Turner and also representing Sacramento State, Adam and John.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Rich. Thank you to all of you, the folks at Bluebeam, for having us here. We're very excited. We're very excited to help demo the Legends feature in the new Review 16. But first, I'm really here just to set the stage for one of Turner Construction's awesome young innovators, and to give a little background on mentorship and what it means to us. I've held numerous roles with Turner Construction in the past 7 years, from BIM and VDC, project engineering, project superintendent, and have had multiple of my own mentors along the way. I've since transitioned into being able to be a mentor myself. I've gotten into recruiting at Sacramento State, a really rewarding task to go back to alma mater and find the next young guys that are going to revolutionize our industry. So with that, mentorship in construction means that we need to transfer the knowledge and practices, general building practices, from the older generations to the young guys, so that we maintain a consistent flow of building good buildings, building better buildings, and making that industry really strong. So with that, I'll pass it off to John, who's going to demo the Legends feature for us.
Thank you, Adam. So just like Adam said, I'm a recent graduate of Sacramento State University, and I'm currently an assistant engineer at Turner Construction. Prior to my current title, I was an intern with Turner Construction, and on day one, Adam sat me down, taught me the basics of Bluebeam Review, and then threw me in the deep end. So with that being said, I'm in an industry full of seasoned veterans where they've done this for years and they have tons of experience. So my first thing that I do is question why. And then with that question, I like to push the limits of technology in the construction industry. And with the new Legends feature of Bluebeam Review 2016, we're able to do so easily and make ourselves look great at the same time. So with that, I'd like to show you guys a little example. So what you see on the screen is a takeoff that I did previously that shows our 1 hour and 2 hour rated walls in our detention cell area of the current job I'm on. Green being 1 hour and blue being 2 hour. And then down below, you actually see two text boxes that I created with the lineal footage of each 1 hour and 2 hour, as well as the area, based on the height of the head of wall condition for these areas. So as you can see, it's real easy to trace the areas, but then when it came to adding up the lineal footage and calculating the square footage, I was at my own mercy to do it on the calculator. And it wasn't tough. I thought it was easy, and I thought I was doing a great job, but you'll see that maybe it wasn't true. So with Legends feature, I'm able to simply select a few of the lines, right-click, go to Legend, and then we're going to create a new legend. We'll place it right next to my previous text boxes and just enlarge it. So right now you can't see it very well because of the drawing overlay, but what we'll do is we'll customize it. So you click on it, and we'll go to Properties, and over here in Fill Color, we'll just do white, so it's easily seen. So now you see Legend, my description of 1 hour and 2 hour rated walls, as well as my quantity and my units. So you can see it doesn't quite match up, but we'll fix that. So first things first, we'll change it from Legend to Basement, because that's where we are in this drawing. So change it to Basement for our title, and then maybe we want to add grid lines or columns. So what we'll do is we'll increase the line width around the surrounding text, the surrounding legend, and then down here in table style where it says outline, we can go grid lines, horizontal, or my favorite, vertical. Just looks cleaner to me. And then I don't want red columns, so I'm just going to change them to black. Pretty default and pretty plain. But now, like I said, you can see that I just have quantity and unit. So I want my lineal footage of all the walls and my square feet, my area. So we'll go to Edit Columns under the Columns tab, and then we'll deselect quantity and unit. Come down to length and wall area. Those are the two that I want to match what I previously had. You see the legend updates, and we have length and wall area side by side. So very simple. But like I said previously, this shows that my hand calcs that I was very confident on previously aren't correct. I was going through and trying to find every line in here and add them up properly, but I may have missed a few or doubled a couple up. So
need to go back
Legends
to math
feature,
class.
Yeah. So the Legends feature helped my accuracy and really would have saved me in this situation. Another great example of this, though, is another page of the same drawing set. We have other areas where we have blow-ups of levels 5, 7, and 8. So as you can see right here, we have the holding plans for level 6. So this shows you my previous text boxes next to the current legend. So it has a nice title, description. It's easy to read with your length and your wall area side by side. I was a little closer in my calculations on these ones, but we have 3 different legends on this same page that are referencing 3 different areas, which is great. So I'm able to break out areas one by one or do them all together. It's just a matter of what's best for you. And the columns being completely customizable, that's great as well.
Yeah, this is super helpful. And
Thank you.
this particular example is super helpful in our industry in multiple senses. When we're looking at drawings initially for takeoff for building estimates in pre-construction, and then when we get to the field, as a superintendent, maybe looking at the lineal footage of the wall area, being able to put together time studies to get to hand to our subcontractors to just verify their amount of work, back-checking change orders maybe. So there's multiple applications that this particular instance would be applicable on a job site every day. The next example that we have on a little bit different document, this particular multi-page document is a plan, multiple blow-up plan views of structural embeds in our foundations on the project. What's super critical about this particular document is it allows us to quantify, count up the number of different types of embeds, 9A, 13A, 20A, whatever they might be. We have dimensions for placement on the actual building itself. Getting these right is extremely critical, right? They're pieces of steel that get cast into the concrete that really isn't very easily modified after the fact. Our friends at Black & Veatch and any other structural engineer that we work with really appreciate that we dive into these deep because if we don't, it makes them have to go back, use their CA hours to redesign details that they've already spent a lot of time doing. So with that, the Legends feature in this particular instance is really helpful.
So in this particular example, we're going to do something slightly different. So right now, as you can see, we have colored markups for each of the different embeds. And then our legend is currently referencing each of those. So it shows you the markup, color, and type, as well as the description of the embed, and then the quantity. So the great thing about this is currently this legend is referencing this sheet. But say I wanted to reference multiple sheets in the document. We have 4 different sheets of 4 different areas of level 1 where we have different embeds. So I want this current legend on my first page to reference all. We can come into our source pages under the table tab, click down, and we'll go all pages. And you can see it auto updates to all the embeds in the drawing. Yeah. So this is a great tool for us where, like I said, it's completely customizable. You can have it reference all of your drawings, or you can have it reference page by page. You can even have multiple on one page referencing different details. Another cool thing we did with this example was we actually created a tool chest for our embeds. So you can see on the right side we have all of our different embeds in different colors, as well as our legend. So with this legend, let's go back to our current view to make it a little more easy to see. So we'll go from source pages all to current. And then say I would like to add more 14A embeds. So that's our green check mark. We'll add a few over here. And then when I'm done with my command, you can see that they auto update. So we went from 5 to 8. It's great. Yeah.
The old way of doing this would have been a painstaking, table full of highlighters, an Excel spreadsheet on the other side, hoping that you counted it correctly, and just it would have taken way longer and been far less efficient. So that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah. And with adding this legend to the tool chest, let's go ahead and just delete what we had previously. And I'll click on my legend that I've added to the tool chest, drag it over here, and it adds it in and it counts the current page just like it's set to do. So we can do that on any of the sheets. Where we have multiple examples of the legend changing to match the specific sheet because they're set to current. Another cool little add-on that Adam and I did with the Legends feature, we get documents that are hundreds of pages long, and it's very cumbersome to try and go through and find details. So with these, it's great. They have their specific embed names and their callouts, and down here, we've actually manually hyperlinked each one. So if we go to 9A, we can click on 9A, and it goes to a blow-up view on a separate sheet of 9A. So just a little extra that we did. We just like to show the versatility of what you can do with the Legends feature when you have all that power to do so.
Yeah, that hyperlinking process is kind of an add-on to the Legends feature that John really, took and ran with, and it, like he said, it has streamlined, the going back and forth between the plan views, the details, and making just information far more accessible in the field to the guys that are actually putting it in place. So with that, I mean, personally, I think that a lot of the new tools that you've seen today, everything that Bluebeam is doing with all these tools is very, metaphorical for how we pass information down in the construction industry. We're spreading it to everybody on our project or within a company or whatever it might be, using these different aspects. So.
Yeah,
with that,
it comes down to time savings, just like everyone said up here. Any time that we can get saved throughout our day, it's great. And for the other guys who've never seen this before, it makes Adam and I look like rock stars up there. So it's not a bad thing either.
So with that, we'll pass it back to Rich to close up and go from there. Thank you very much.
Those two are definitely rock stars, and I appreciate that they showed us what legends are truly made of. That was pretty amazing. Hey, no heckling out there. In any case, so this has been quite a journey today, and there's a lot of different things that we've added over time, and I want to say thank you to all of the presenters today for taking the time and making sure that we did what we could to actually share with you all of the things that we're trying to bring forth. Those were just a few of the features that we presented. So definitely go online and check out some of the other things that we're doing with this release. I definitely hope that you share in the excitement that we have for this feature. So dig in, download the product, and give it a go. One other announcement that I wanted to make, and it's something. 1 second here, I'll be right back. So a quick wardrobe change. It's about as fast as I can make it. Just to share with you that we are announcing something special. In order to support the next generation of innovators out there, Bluebeam will be giving away seats to any student who downloads the Review 2016 application by the end of this week. So you have until midnight Friday to download the product, and just go to review2016.com, go to the academic giveaway, and fill out the form, and we will send you a license to our product. So congratulations to all the students out there who will get this opportunity to try out the new product. We're really excited for you. Yeah. So with that, it's the best release ever. I just want to say thanks for joining us this morning. We'll see you in August at the Bluebeam Extreme Conference in San Diego.